and good morning. Welcome to Lincoln Ware Live. We're here every Sunday morning from 10 until 11. And as usual, we've got a great show lined up for you today. The first half of the show, we're going to talk to Kathleen Davis and Jessica Donohue-Dioh from Rescue and Restore. And we'll talk about human trafficking. Oh, yes, it's going on still. And it's going on here in America. We'll tell you more about that. Plus, gambling in Ohio is closer than you think. We'll talk to myohionow.com. We'll talk about how close gambling is to Ohio, and it could be coming to a casino near you. You better stay tuned for that. As you know, I've been preaching about gambling in the state for the longest. Kentucky is coming up real fast. Indiana already has it. What's a person in Ohio to do except go across the border? Hopefully we can avoid that. We'll talk about that on the second half of the show. All right, let's go to my guests, Kathleen Davis, Jessica Donohue-Dioh. Human trafficking. When I hear about human trafficking, I'm thinking sex slaves and people in a little room, you know, or on the back of a truck. Just explain human trafficking to me.
Well, you're not too far off in what you think. Human trafficking is two things. It's labor trafficking and it's sex trafficking. And it's really important to especially distinguish that labor trafficking does exist. Sex trafficking is a lot more interesting. People like to know about it. It seems a little more emotional to many people, but they both exist and they're both right here in Cincinnati. And I think Kathleen can give you a good idea of what that really means.
Well, in terms of human trafficking, again, it's not just sex trafficking for prostitution or in brothels. You often find it in poorly regulated industries. For example, you can find it in agricultural work, work in restaurants, hotels, basically anywhere where there's not going to be a lot of people necessarily paying attention, because who may not think there may be people or victims working in those industries.
Now, how do you spot maybe someone that's going through human trafficking, you know, that's like a slave to someone? How do you spot it? How do you know it's going on?
There's a lot of red flags to look for. Some of the red flags when we're talking about foreign nationals and as well with domestic U.S. citizens that are being trafficked, things like not having any identification. Traffickers will confiscate someone's identification and use it as a means of coercion to say, especially to a foreign national, if you go for help, they're going to think you're undocumented and they're going to deport you, and it's going to be worse off than you are here.
Sort of like blackmail.
Yeah. And in fact, actually, to legally define human trafficking, you need force, fraud, or coercion to state that the person was a victim of a severe form of human trafficking. And so using the document fraud is a form of coercion. It's fraud. It's a fraudulent practice of the legal process as well, in the immigration process. So traffickers will use whatever they can to really manipulate anyone.
Now, it seems to me a few years ago, an employee at Procter & Gamble and his wife had a domestic staying with them, and they were like paying her slave wages, and she finally broke loose and went to the authorities and told on them. Did you hear about that case? I mean, could that be like a form of human trafficking?
I did hear about that case. It could be a form of human trafficking. Obviously, you need to know all the information before you can make a judgment on it, but domestic servitude is very common with human trafficking. In fact, some of the model cases that have been prosecuted on a federal level have involved children and adults working as domestic servants that haven't been paid for years, have been psychologically, physically abused. The employers haven't maintained their immigration status.
So it's just like slavery. It's slavery in 2008.
It basically is. Also, what I do want to point out is that it also happens to American citizens. I think what the media tends to portray is foreign national victims coming in, and they tend to focus more specifically on women and children and forget to mention oftentimes that men are victims of human trafficking, whether it's working on farms or in construction or landscaping and that such.
Now, the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center had something going on down there concerning this. Is that correct?
Along with the YWCA, the Freedom Center co-hosted a two-day training event as part of the Rescue and Restore Cincinnati Coalition. We worked on training law enforcement as well as attorneys on one day, and the second day was more for social workers and the general public. And we plan on having more trainings down the line for those who are interested. Okay, now what if you think some human trafficking is going on? You've been observing some different situations. What do? Do you call the immigration, or who do you call? Well, there are two hotlines. One is the national hotline with Health and Human Services that's run by Polaris Project, and that number is 1-888-3737-888.
And then we also have a local hotline, which is the same hotline that the YWCA and Rape Crisis and Abuse run, and that's 513-872-9259. And the hotline workers locally, and then obviously on a national level, have all been trained to go through a series of questions and determine on a basic level whether this might be human trafficking, and then make a referral to an agency that's able to provide further screening and further assessment to really determine what the needs are of the individual.
All right, we'll take a quick break and we'll come back and hear what you have to say about human trafficking. The phone number 513-381-3838 if you want to jump on board. Maybe you know of a case of human trafficking and you want to share it with us. Do that right now. We'll be back in a moment. And we're back live. Lincoln Ware Live is the program, and we're talking about human trafficking this morning. And remember, the second half of the show, we're going to talk about casino gambling coming to Ohio. We'll talk about that on the second half. Kathleen Davis, Jessica Donohue-Dioh, they're my guests this morning, and we want to hear from you on human trafficking. Let's start off with Walter. Walter, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, sir. I want to be very serious. First of all, I did turn this on to watch about the casino gambling, but the subject that you're talking about here, you know what an au pair is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was working up in Blue Ash. I was up there working. This is 10 years ago. I live in O'Brienville, but I was working in Blue Ash. And there was a young girl in there. My Spanish is not that good, but it's decent. I can understand pretty much. There was a young girl in there, and she was from El Salvador. And she was an au pair, and basically these people had the girl in there, and they didn't want to, the man didn't want her to go home, and the wife was happy, and everything like that. And they had her in there. And my brother had worked at the government at that time. One of my brothers had passed away. And they got the girl out of there, and basically they had her in there without, the girl was wanting to go home. They wasn't paying her anything, just basically feeding and clothing her. And they brought her over as an au pair through
some type of agency or something?
Yeah, through a company that brings au pairs over here.
And is she still there?
No. They get my brother got a hold of the situation. Like I said, he worked for the government.
Oh, okay.
Randy, and they got her out of there right away. I did want to mention that to you. I did want to mention one other thing, though. Last night I was watching your program, TV 38 there, and another one of my brothers called me up, and there's a guy on there that's always talking about the Mexicans, this and that, and about how good of food he eats and all this. The guy was sitting there hypocritical eating a hot dog and stuff like that. But I think you, Lincoln, are the real thing. You're not a racist. You don't have nothing against blacks, whites, Mexicans, Latinos.
I'm an equal opportunity
I've
offender.
noticed that in you. You're a very good talk show host. But this situation with the au pair, that was a real situation, and believe me, it does exist.
Yes. Well, that's why we're trying to bring it to light there, Walter. Thanks for
your call. Have a blessed day.
You can call back on the casino issue if you want to.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.
I'll give you a free pass, Walter. Thanks for your call. And what about, are there any laws, preventing this type of situation, human trafficking in Ohio?
In terms of Ohio, we do have 3 pending legislation: House Bill 15, Senate Bill 23, and Senate Bill 205 that's wanting to criminalize human trafficking and also require mandatory training of law enforcement and create a task force so more people in Ohio is aware through general public awareness. I do want to mention that there is a federal law, the Trafficking Victim Protection Act of 2000, that criminalizes human trafficking. And oftentimes people think slavery ended because we had the 13th Amendment, Emancipation Proclamation, and various other anti-slavery treaties. But the question really comes down to implementing those laws.
All right, let's move along. Let's go to Ed. Ed, good morning. You're on Lincoln Ware Live. How are you?
Good morning, Lincoln.
What's going on? What's your question?
I was reading in the paper, the guy got caught with 110 pounds of cocaine, and he played out to 4 years.
Okay, who's screening these calls? Yeah, we'll talk about that later on. That's another topic, another day. Okay, let's go to Ramir. Ramir, how you doing?
I'm fine, Lincoln. I just wanted to make a comment about the awareness. The awareness level of the human trafficking is not to where all the authorities are taking their time and financial reasons to make that aware. So many people aren't aware. They think, okay, this person is working, so they obviously got documentation, which in fact that is not true, because a lot of warehouse jobs hire illegals, and somehow or another they get checks. So the awareness point, if the awareness level was up, maybe it has slowed down a little bit, but by people just not paying attention or not knowing, this is going to continue to go on.
But, and like you say, these people that own these big factories and things, they can really, people don't have documents, they say, okay, I'm going to turn you in, but you're going to work for $2 a day.
Right,
you know,
right.
And if you don't, I'm going to turn you in. So what's a person to do?
And this is a really good comment, because not only does the awareness need to be there for law enforcement, for social service providers, for religious groups, but for the general community, because about a third of all victims identified are identified by Good Samaritans.
Exactly.
So when you see that your neighbor or your employer or someone you know in your community has somebody working for them or a business that they're running and it doesn't seem quite legitimate, call and just tell somebody. Call and say, you know, I don't really feel comfortable with this. I don't really know what it is, and I don't maybe have all the information, but I need to tell somebody else so that someone who does have the resources and the information can follow up, can investigate it a little bit more, and determine maybe it's a labor rights violation, which still needs to be addressed, but maybe it's human trafficking as well.
Exactly, and that's what I was thinking. Thanks for your time.
Hey, thanks for your call.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Lamora. Lamora, good morning. You're on Lincoln Ware Live. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Good. What's on your mind?
What about the mothers who just don't care about the kids, who's going to the traffickers and that's just leaving their kids out there and just don't care?
I mean, let's face it, some parents probably will sell their kids to the traffickers. Have you seen any situations like that?
Yes, and that's what I was wondering, like, what happens to these parents? I mean, some of these parents out here just don't care about their kids. Like, I'm downtown right now, and I see a lot of kids like that living with other people, and their parents out here strung out, and, like, they just don't care.
Yes, thanks for your call. And I guess you do see cases where, you know, parents will sell their kids to traffickers.
That does happen, whether it's in the U.S. or actually abroad. For example, abroad, sometimes parents feel that they have to sell a child, but they think they're selling a child into apprenticeship to bring in money. But we've also seen cases in the U.S. where parents may sell out their children in order to get drugs or money, where the child is forced to prostitute themselves out.
And something really important to take note of is that traffickers can be anyone. They can be businesses, corporations, they can be individuals, they can be mom and pop shops, and they can be parents. Parents can be trafficking out their children and making a profit for offering their daughter for forced prostitution to, sometimes it's only close friends in the family or people they know well. But as long as it's a commercial sex act and there's some sort of value being exchanged for it, that parent can be the trafficker of that child.
And it doesn't have to be money.
Now, what about let's get to the juicy part, the strip clubs and things like that, what you see on TV when it comes to trafficking. How often do you run into cases like that where there's a strip club and you got some women there and they're being forced to strip and prostitute and things like that? Do you see that often?
There was a federal case involving Eastern European women in Michigan, which just came about in terms of a sentencing a few months ago, where the women were being forced to strip, and whatever money they made didn't go to them, it went to their traffickers. And they were also forced to prostitute themselves, and all that money went to the trafficker. They were locked in rooms and escorted wherever they went. So we do see cases of that. And oftentimes it's the Good Samaritans who notice this and make a phone call.
Wow. All right, before we wrap things up, I think we have time for another phone call here. Let's go to Daryl. Daryl, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How you doing, Lincoln Ware?
Pretty good.
Dealing with the trafficking situation with immigration, what I can understand is how can they come over here in our country and they have this public housing, and you have about 10 people in a house, and they get a general assistance, they get medical assistance, they get food stamps, but then every time you look up, they go to these different jobs, and where are they getting these Social Security cards from? Where are they getting these birth certificates? Why are these not documented other than somebody that, like myself, goes in here and tries to get a job, maybe get $8 an hour, but here it is, they go in there and they become supervisor, crew leaders. How is that so?
I do want to make a point that human trafficking is different from smuggling, because I think a lot of people tend to wrap them together in immigration. Smuggling includes where people actually pay someone to bring them into the country, versus human trafficking, where oftentimes they may not even know they're coming to the U.S. They've been sold or abducted, and so they end up in the U.S. and are under total control. And so, again, make sure smuggling and human trafficking are not rolled up together. So that's where maybe the issue of document fraud of fake Social Security cards may come into play.
And there's a lot of different questions you have out there about Social Security cards. Where do they get them? How are they making more money? How are they getting here? How are they being promoted? We can't address all of those today, but the most important thing I think to recognize is that our Constitution protects everyone in this country, regardless of your legal status. We don't distinguish to say that if someone is here without proper documentation, they don't have rights anymore. And I think that's something that's really positive about our country. We recognize the worth of every individual as an individual and as a human being, and not based on their legal status, so to speak. And so regardless of how they're here, if they become a victim of a crime and they're exploited, we have a duty as a country to protect them because they are a human being.
We'll take a quick break and we'll come back and wrap things up on Rescue and Restore. We'll take a quick break, come back and talk to you. And coming up on the second half of the show, we'll talk about gambling in the state of Ohio. It's coming. At least I'll keep my fingers crossed. We'll be back in a moment. And we're back live. Lincoln Ware Live is the program. Kathleen Davis, Jessica Donohue-Dioh, Rescue and Restore. Can you give us some phone numbers where people can call, or websites they can look at?
Sure. The Freedom Center actually has a new initiative called the Partnership for Human Freedom, which works on the issue of contemporary slavery. And so if people want to learn more about what human trafficking and contemporary slavery is, they can go to www.freedomcenter.org or email me at partnership@nurfc.org.
All right.
And then for our local Rescue and Restore Coalition, which is a way for the community to get involved, anyone can volunteer and anyone can be a member. You can go to www.rescueandrestore.org and you can find out basic information. And then you can email me at jdonahue-dioh@thewcacin.org. I know that's a mouthful.
Yes, it is. But I think we got it up on the screen.
Yeah.
So people can copy it down on the screen.
And we also have a local hotline, as we mentioned earlier, and that's 513-872-9259. And you can call for information. They can connect you with me to report a case, to report a suspicion, or victims can call and advocates can call to assist someone.
All right. Well, I want to thank both of you for joining me this morning. And hopefully we can put an end to any type of human trafficking that's going on in the country as well as in this area.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you for stopping by. All right, we'll take a quick break and we'll come back and talk to Rick Lertzman and Dr. Brad Pressman, myohionow.com. Gambling may be coming to a casino near you, right here in Ohio. We'll talk about that when we return on Lincoln Ware Live. And we're back live. Lincoln Ware Live is the program. And as promised, I figured I'd tell you the second half of the show would be on gambling. So if you want to jump on board, you better do it now. Normally, the lines explode when we talk about gambling here in Ohio. 513-381-3838. In the studio with me, Rick Lertzman and Dr. Brad Pressman. Thank both of you for joining me this morning. myohionow.com. Tell us a little bit about it. It was all over the news a couple of weeks ago here in Cincinnati about this new casino coming up off of 71 and 73. Tell us what's going on.
Well, we're really excited. This is a project that we're bringing. It's a $600 million destination site. It's going to be probably up to $800 million, and it's going to be a full-service, full state-of-the-art casino that has everything. We're going to have all kind of amenities like restaurants and shopping. We're going to have a golf course, and it's going to be really a destination site for Ohio.
I think one of the most exciting features is our location. We're really Cincinnati's casino. We're going to be located right on I-71 and Route 73, which is just outside the city. So everyone in the Cincinnati area, this is going to be your casino.
So you can get there, what, just about 15 minutes from Kings Island, I guess?
18 minutes. We
18.
measured that on the way down.
Okay, 18 minutes from Kings Island. And, okay, the first thing I say, well, gambling is not legal in Ohio. How you plan to get that done?
Well, what we plan to do and what we've begun to do in just the last week is have a petition drive. And our petition drive is geared to getting 402,000 valid signatures on a petition. And once that is completed, we plan to be on the ballot November 2008, which is the same election as the presidential election. So the process has started, and we're going to be there.
Now, of course, you know, we've had gambling initiatives on the ballot before. Ohio just seems to say, we don't want gambling here, but yet it's springing up all around us. Kentucky is now considering casino gambling. Of course, Indiana already has it. What is it about Ohio that we can't seem to get this casino passed when it's on the ballot?
Well, in 2006, there was an issue on the ballot, and I think it was a repudiation more of the issue than of gambling itself. And people just said that wasn't the issue. We didn't like what it said.
Well, they sort of disguised what it was.
Yeah,
you know, they made, you know, we're going to send you to school. You got your scholarships
Right.
and this and that. And I don't know, people just didn't buy it.
But we have a plan. It's called Share the Wealth, where the money goes into a pot and it's divided up equally to all 88 counties in Ohio. So whether you're in Hamilton County or Claremont County or up in Cuyahoga County, where we're from, the money's shared equally. I mean, of course, the jobs are going to be down here in the Cincinnati and Dayton market. It really helps all of Ohio, and I think Ohioans are going to say this is great because we give money to counties, and they could spend the money as they see fit. I mean, Hamilton County could spend on the jail they wanted to build. I mean, so it's bringing money to the community that the communities can decide what to do with, not the state.
Now, how much money are we talking, though? You're talking 88 counties. How much money you think this casino tends to may make for Ohio?
Well, we look at it at the gross, it's called the casino win, which is $800 to $1 billion a year. And we have a 30% tax. So that means that about $240 million will go into a tax to the state of Ohio. So it's really a substantial amount.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, do you think there will be a groundswell of support to sign the petitions? Because that's you need a lot of signatures, and a lot of them, they all have to be good. Now, like I said, they did it before, it didn't pass. What are you guys going to do differently?
Well, we've already hired a professional corporation to come in and gather the signatures. And while it's a large effort, the groundswell has been really amazing. People have been stepping up, they've been signing petitions, and we know that if we really work diligently, we'll certainly have probably twice as many signatures as we're going to need. Our goal is to get 750 or 800,000 signatures. So we literally have people now who are fanning out across the entire state collecting signatures. In fact, there's an 800 number you can call if you want to collect petitions.
And we can give it to you. It's 1-800-285-1276. And you can either join the petition to sign it, or you can also become a petition collector. Okay. And we pay petition. They're all paid petition collectors.
Can you put that number up on the screen? I think we've got it. We'll try to put it up. We'll get it up before you guys leave, I promise you. So everybody get your paper and your pencil out so you can write down the phone number so that you can collect some petitions and pass them out, sign them, and help with this effort. Because, like I say, Kentucky is on the verge of approving casino gambling there. Indiana's always, why let all of our tax dollars go over there?
Well, the amazing thing is, in the last 10 years, Indiana's collected $9 billion in tax revenues just from gambling. And 70% of that comes from Ohio.
Yeah.
So we're what they call a feeder state.
Yeah.
We're feeding Indiana. And with Governor Beshear now, he wants gambling. That's going to be in
He sees that
he knows
profit.
it.
Yeah.
And he knows it. He won on that kind of platform. He beat Governor Fletcher in that. And it's going to be, Newport, Kentucky, Florence, Kentucky. They're ready to put it there, and it's going to be in our backyard here.
It's the reality is our tax dollars are leaving the state at 65 miles an hour. The truth is, literally every state around Ohio already has a thriving casino industry. There's 37 states that have casinos, and one has to step back and ask, can all these people be wrong? Can all these state governments be derelict and irresponsible in terms of casino gambling? Or has Ohio just fallen behind the times and is no longer competitive? It's just time to get up a plan that makes sense for Ohio. And we think finally myohionow.com has that plan.
And what about the people, the naysayers? Oh, it's going to bring crime to the neighborhood. It's going to...
When you look at regional gambling, that is gambling throughout the Midwest, you find out that it's been very successful. For example, in Iowa, after 8 years, because of the state law, 11 counties went back to the ballot box to find out if the casinos should stay or go in Iowa. And in 11 different counties in 2002, the people went back to the polls, and in each case, had the casinos stay in the counties by overwhelming margins. Casinos were allowed to stay in Iowa by margins of 65 to 83%. So if there was anything going wrong, you would have known it. But the fact is, casino gambling throughout the Midwest is successful, and that's why we think it's time to bring it to Ohio.
All right, let's go to the telephones, hear what you think about casino gambling. Here, let's go to Dana. Dana, good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Pretty good.
I don't think that we should have any casino gambling here in Cincinnati because we've already got a whole lot of problems that we need to be dealing with besides bringing casinos.
Okay,
here.
so let's have it right across the river so we can all just go over there then. What problems are the casinos going to bring here that we don't already have?
I mean, it'll bring, well, you know, it's a lot of addiction here. So I believe that
so casinos going to bring drug addiction.
No,
how do you respond?
I'm talking about gambling.
Okay, gambling addiction. How do you counter that?
Dana, in our petition, we give 1% toward problem gamblers. But the fact is, there's already problem gamblers. We do have the lottery. If you just want to look in Ohio, we have racetracks, we have Vegas nights, we have gambling. You can go to your computer and gamble. Or we can just go just right over the border to Argosy. So there's already a problem here. So we're not adding to the problem, but what we're doing is we could talk to you economically. We're going to help bring money and jobs to this area. It's 5,000 jobs, Dana, and we're going to be bringing 5,000 jobs, which really help 5,000 families.
Okay.
All right, thanks for your call. Now, yeah, I'm sure you hear all the naysayers, and you've got an answer for, you know, for every one of them, and they're pretty good answers. Stan, Alan, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Lincoln?
Good.
My thing is this: why don't we give this money to schools and to treatment centers instead of all 88 counties and letting them do what they want to it? Because if you're going to use it to build jails, why don't you just use it to build more schools and treatment centers, and you won't need no need for jail?
Well, okay, I'll let him answer that. Thanks for your call.
One of the reasons that we have Share the Wealth is that we allow each and every county to decide for itself how to spend the money. So you're absolutely right. In Cincinnati, the programs you just said, schools might be something that is of prime importance, and so Hamilton County can move in that direction. Clinton County may move in a different direction, and Claremont County might have other issues that really are important for them to handle. So Share the Wealth allows each local government unit to decide for itself what's the best way to use the money. And there can be more than one program, or the programs can change. What we're really concerned about doing, Lincoln, is making sure that the Ohio government, the state government, just doesn't get this money and somehow finds a way to spend it or manipulate it, because a lot of people think that's what happened with the lottery.
Yeah.
So we think if you really take the money and give it to different counties, the local governments are more responsive to the needs of the people, and you can call up your county commissioner and say, look, that money needs to go to schools, and they'll respond that way. So we think this is the best of both worlds. Get the money to local government and let the people have the say in terms of where that money goes.
Now, will this casino be easy to get to? I mean, like you say, it's 71, but after you get off of the exit at, what is it, State Route 73?
This is my favorite part of any interview, because what I always like to do is what I call the golf ball test. If I can stand at the freeway exit and hit a golf ball and it lands on a piece of property, that's where I want my casino to be. So the instructions and driving instructions for this casino are get on I-71 north and just get right off at State Route 73. The casino is on visible side of the highway. That's how easy it is to get to. In fact, at that intersection between State Route 73 and Interstate 71, there are 420 cars that pass that intersection per day, according to ODOT.
That's a lot of cars.
But Brad's done his research.
There's a lot of cars. Now, and so you just be able to pull off the freeway, drive right up to the casino. You have valet parking. You believe you call it, because I guess they do have valet parking at Argosy. But if you want to park in the garage, it's not very.
Well, the difference, Argosy is built on a boat, and it's according to the Army Corps of Engineers of how they have to build it. So our size of this casino is going to be about 6 times the size of Argosy. It's 300,000 square feet. And you just drive right up to the front and you're right in the casino. You walk right in. It's that easy. I mean, it's going to be, we want to make it as simple and as easy as possible, and it's going to be beautiful. I mean, we plan on building something that the structure is going to be so elegant and so beautiful that it's going to really fit in, that it's going to be something we're going to be proud of.
All right, let's go to Kissa. Kissa, how you doing?
Kissa. I just agree with the situation. I don't think it would be a bad idea to have the casino here because, like you said, they're going to Indiana and going to the Barraterra, and why not have one in our own backyard where we can go? And then, like they said with the gambling thing, is people going to bingo, spending thousands of dollars and everything like that. My only thing would be like for people that can't get up that way, like have buses go up that way. That would be a thought.
I'm sure they'll have a casino shuttle that will probably leave from one of the hotels or something downtown.
Yeah,
all throughout Cincinnati.
Now, that would be a good idea for people that can't drive, but yeah, I agree with it.
All right.
All right, thanks.
Hey, thanks for your call.
Thanks for your support, Kissa.
See you at the roulette wheel. Tiffany, how you doing?
Fine.
Good.
I agree with the situation also. As a college student coming from a first-year generation family, I myself go to bingo a lot, and I spend a lot of money on bingo. But I know how to budget. You see, and everywhere you go out throughout the 50 states, there's addiction. And it's not only gambling addiction. So I don't think it's right for someone to get on the air and say, oh, we're going to have addictions, because we have addictions everywhere, and it's up to the people and the people's family to do something about it. We can't always look for other people to fix our own problems. We created these own problems, and it's time for us to do something about it and not blame on other people. And I really think that, it would be great for the jobs to come in our city, and people are not looking at it like this. People are just want to push it otherwhere, but like you say, all of our people and citizens go up to the Argosy and gamble because I do. I've been up there 3 times in one day, wishing like, oh, well, what if I could just go downtown, So I think it's really ridiculous how everyone is trying to create all these problems. That's what they're doing. It's not problems existing. They're creating them and trying to put it, oh, this is what's going to happen if we get a vote. No, the problems are already here, and we should have been dealt with them.
All right, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Thanks for your call.
Tiffany's
exactly right.
It's personal responsibility. The money's there to help problem gamblers, but we think there's already problem gamblers, and it just exists already in Ohio.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and take more calls. Mary, Jeff, and others holding on. We'll get to you. We're talking about myohionow.com. We'll be back in just a moment to talk to you about casino gambling in Ohio. And we're back live. Lincoln Ware Live is the program, and we'll get right to the phones because everybody wants to talk about casino gambling in Ohio. Let's go to Greg. Greg, how are you?
I'm doing well, Lincoln. How are you?
Pretty good.
Unfortunately, I don't think that there should be another casino here.
Well, wait a minute. You say another one here. We don't have any here.
Well, within driving range. I don't think there should be one in the Cincinnati area. I think that the city or whoever is facilitating this should put that money towards education and finding ways for people to save their money and invest in their future instead of going to a casino and blowing it. I mean, in this area alone, you just having just eclectic ways to just spend your money, around. In this area, they're still spending it. They're going to Indiana to spend it. So why not keep it here to help maybe education? You say you want to spend that money on education. How about keeping it here in Ohio? But here's the thing, is that mandated? Is it for sure that the money the revenue made by the casinos is going to actually go towards education? Is it going to go towards building up communities? Well, I mean, he said they split the money up between the 88 counties. Then it will be up to the county. So what would have to happen? Hamilton County maybe the voters in Hamilton County would have to come up with something to say, hey, the money you get from gambling should go directly to education. So we would have to get to that point. That's not where it's already yet. Well, no, we'd have to get to that point. Well, right now, if they get the casino, they will distribute the money to the 88 counties. Now, what the counties do will be up to the individual counties. Yes. I understand. I'm not on the casino boat. I think there's other ways to use the money, but wish you guys luck. All right. Hey, Greg, thanks.
One of the things that's great about American and democracy is that everyone should have the right to choose how to live their lives and how to spend their money. No one's going to criticize someone who wants to spend their money for education or for any other aspect of their life. But one of the things that Ohio needs to have is the choice, that people have to have an ability to choose where they want to go for entertainment and where they want to go to spend their money. And the fact of the matter is, if you don't think gambling's right for you, you never need to go to a casino. But what's unfortunate is when we use laws and government to restrict how people can make decisions. You know, there's no doubt that as adults we need to be responsible, and everyone needs to be responsible. But that also means to allow people the freedom to choose to go to a place like a casino.
Oh, yeah. And this will help the overall economy in, say, Hamilton County. If a company wants to have a convention at the convention center, you got the casino to entice that company to have their convention here in Cincinnati.
You're
It's something else to do.
When companies plan conventions, they look at Detroit, they'll look at Chicago, they look at Kansas City, St. Louis, but when you look at Cincinnati, there's, you know, it's not there, and we're drawing the people for that.
Why do you think Vegas is so big on conventions?
Absolutely.
And, you know, it's not just conventions. When we put our casino right on I-71, it's going to act like an economic magnet. And businesses throughout the entire 71 corridor are going to be attracted to there. In fact, in Illinois, where vendors interact with their casino industry, they generate $133 million in ancillary business and ancillary employment that we can't really ignore. One of the big features of bringing a casino into any area is just overall economic development and economic revitalization. Why we know that we can bring up to 5,000 jobs for the casino, there are going to be thousands of other job opportunities in all these other ancillary and local businesses. So it's not just one industry coming in, building one building. It's an entire region, a region like Cincinnati really getting a huge economic shot in the arm. And that's something you can't overlook and you can't minimize because it's going to be significant. This is going to be the largest destination resort site between New Jersey and Nevada. And it's going to be the kind of place that everyone in the Midwest is going to turn around and say, I want to go there. I want to see what's going to be built there. And instead of our dollars leaving the state at 65 miles an hour, we can finally bring tourism into a place like Cincinnati and have people from Indianapolis or Lexington or Kentucky come across the border and spend money here, which is a great economic stimulus, and it's something that we should all be really excited about.
All right, let's go to my favorite caller who calls every Sunday morning. Mary, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
And I already know what you're going to say. I don't like gambling.
I don't like your subject. And I think you look so good. Your wife must have picked that tie today.
Well, I picked it today.
Oh,
Mary.
it's pretty. You look good.
Okay.
I assume she's talking to Lincoln.
Thanks, Mary.
I want to say, you know, we have so many problems. Now, you know, we're surrounded by gambling. And we don't have nowhere for the homeless to drop in. They want to move it or close it.
Well, and you know what the county's saying? Everybody crime broke. So maybe if they had a little more money, more people with jobs paying taxes, more people buying goods in the county, maybe they'd have money for the homeless and for this and for the treatment plans.
We don't need those kind of jobs. We need jobs to get their...
A job is a job.
We
a paycheck is a paycheck.
To get these guys, young babies, off the street hustling dope and stuff. We don't need no corruption. We have enough corruption.
All right, thanks for your call.
I want to tell Mary that the jobs pay an average in Indiana of $34,000 plus benefits, plus health benefits, plus a 501k. So it's really a fair-paying job. So these are not low-paying jobs; they're fair-paying jobs.
Right. Jeff, how you doing? Jeff. Hey, Jeff, stop listening to your TV, watching your TV. And
I'm doing all right there.
Turn your TV down.
Oh, it's on mute.
Okay.
Hey, I kind of disagree with the casino, too. You know what I mean? Because we have enough problems around here with people losing their homes on foreclosures and, you know, can't afford to keep up with their own property. Then they have gambling problems, and then it all reflects on all of that.
Okay, so how you going to blame that on Ohio casinos, and they don't have any here, and they're losing their homes and things like that?
Well, it's even going to get worse. You know, I'm not blaming it just on the casinos, but it's just, you know, it's another problem. It's going to create more problems. And like you said, with, you know, you got the right and the freedom, your choice. And hey, they take your freedom of choice. You can't smoke cigarettes in restaurants. That's one freedom of choice the state took away. So hey, and then when they get that money, they should make us go to the schools that need more help in their education, not just scatter the money out. Those schools out in Mason, everything, they're pretty well good funded with their programs in school, but start sending them to the money to schools that need more help, to these public schools. You know, not just those rich areas, and they shouldn't be able to get those. Send them to the neediest part of the city that needs the schools better help.
All right. Well, Jeff, the thing about it, people who are going to gamble, they're already gambling.
That's right.
That's right. You're right.
They're already going over into Indiana. Soon they'll be going over into Kentucky.
That's right.
My only deal is, why not just stay here?
And Jeff's saying how to spend the money. If we don't have this, we don't have the money.
Right.
You know, one of the great frustrations that we sort of hear in a lot of people's tone is we should just stay the same. We shouldn't make any changes. The truth of the matter is none of these problems will really be addressed or can go away unless Ohio stands up for itself and becomes competitive again. And one of the ways to do that is to allow casinos to come into the area, because with the income that we can generate, we can begin to really attack some of the problems that people are talking about. But if we stay the same and we allow our money to simply leave our borders at 65 miles an hour, we're going to find ourselves just further behind the curve and less competitive. So it's really a question of opportunity. If people are interested in participating with the casino, if they're interested in getting a job at the casino, that's opportunity. If we have 5,000 jobs available at the casino, for example, I guarantee you, Lincoln, I'll have a line 10,000 people long looking for those jobs. And the truth of the matter is, while it may not be the right job for you, I can tell you there's going to be tens of thousands of people who want those jobs. And it's unfortunate that those people won't have that opportunity if Ohio just sort of stays in the same mind frame, which is woe is me, we have other problems we need to deal with. We've got to get together. We have to make changes inside the state. Or again, our tax dollars will leave the state at 65 miles an hour, and nothing really will improve for us.
Bob, how you doing?
Very good. Thank you, Lincoln, for taking my call.
Okay.
Gambling is a fact of life. The state of Ohio should come up with a comprehensive plan, not just one casino.
You're right. Now, you're right about
that. They should come up with a comprehensive plan and not let the other gaming institutions in Indiana and other states dictate where they will go. The problem with the state of Ohio and Cincinnati in particular is they don't know how to handle fun. They never have.
This is the no fun state.
That's right.
All right.
I'm against the single casino, but I'd vote for a comprehensive plan that the state of Ohio could put up.
Well, here's my deal. If we get this one single casino, I think it'll open up the door for others. I know you don't want to hear that. You would like to be the only one.
Absolutely, but when we did polling, Lincoln.
Thanks, Bob.
When we did polling, we could tell Bob that the voters of Ohio don't want all casinos all over the state. They voted against 9 casinos. So you do have to open up the door. You do have to do something the voters feel comfortable with. And that's why we did 1, because that's what the voters said they want. We did polling.
In 2006, there was a proposal that had 8 or 10 casinos around the state, and it didn't win. So you have to step back and say, we need to do something that's going to be successful. And again, we did our polling, and what we decided is, and what we found in our polling, is that people really overall do have an appeal for a very small number of casinos. But you're right. I mean, this may be the first step, or it may not. It'll just depend on how Ohio goes in the future.
Because we've got some property down on the riverfront called the Banks.
That's right.
And eventually, if they could get a casino down there, I think, that would, move that a project along, But like you say, if we get one, I think that'll open up the door, and Ohioans will look at it, and
it's safe and fun, and it's a great place to go.
Yeah, Diane.
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm doing great, Lincoln. Thank you. I agree totally with your panel today. I've been waiting for gambling to come into Cincinnati for a long, long time. When I think of our river, and when I think of Kentucky doing it, it makes me cringe to think that all the revenues that are going to go to Kentucky, Ohio needs something desperately. I mean, desperately.
You're right.
For our education, for everything.
I mean, we need jobs. People are leaving this state by the thousands every year. This state is not gaining in population by any means. So we need to do anything we can to attract business and people to the state.
Absolutely. I don't understand why the voters voted the slot machines from River Downs down. I don't understand any of it. When all these gamblers are going to Indiana and any place they possibly can, the revenues that's going to come into this city is going to be absolutely phenomenal. And I'm with the panel completely. I'll sign anything. I'll go anywhere and vote.
All right, Diane.
Well, we appreciate Diane's support, but it's true. 120,000 people leave the state a year. It's the #1 state where people leave. We lost 13,500 jobs. We're facing $1 billion deficit. There's problems in Ohio. We've got to really, look at that.
One thing I can add is why Ohio may be the last state in the Great Lakes region to get casino gambling. One thing I can tell the audience is that we're going to be the best at doing it. And we're going to make the commitment to really build a site that's going to be a full-scale, state-of-the-art casino that I think is going to wow the Cincinnati area.
How about putting that number up on the screen for the petitions, if we can? We had an 800 number. If there it is up on the screen. You better write that number down. If you want to gather some petitions and pass them out, if you want to sign one, call that number and they'll get them to you. And you pay people to go out and get signatures.
You're paid as a petitioner. You're paid by the signature, and all of our people collecting are paid petitioners. And it'll be a job you'll be working through August. I mean, doing that, and actually we've had such great support when we've been out for the last almost 2 weeks. Been really fantastic, and we've had a real positive response.
Well, I want to thank you for joining me this morning. I want to wish you good luck in getting those signatures in there. And once we get it on the ballot, I think Ohioans finally realize that we need to do this because everybody else around us are doing it. So, hey, we might as well join in the fun.
Well, thank you so much for inviting us. We really appreciate it.
Very much.
Thank you for joining me. Let's take a quick break, and I'll come back and wrap things up with the Talk of the Town right here on Lincoln Ware Live. We'll take a quick break, and we'll return in just a moment. And sorry about the calls I didn't get to, but we'll have them back again. Back in a moment. And we're back live. Lincoln Ware Live is the program to wrap things up. Coming up at noon today on Channel 38, Dean Cain starring in Lost. You don't want to miss that. And if you want to tell your friends about this show, they can see a rebroadcast tonight at 8 o'clock on WOTH Channel 25. And following the rebroadcast of this show, Armor Infinity. That's at 9 o'clock tonight. And don't forget, you can check me out Monday through Friday on 1230 The Buzz. I'll be on from 10 a.m. to 1, and we can continue talking about some of the things we talked about today. Tomorrow, starting at 10 a.m. on 1230 The Buzz. That's going to wrap it up for me. See you next Sunday morning, 10 o'clock. I'm out.